So if you're already in a seated position, feel free to stay here. If you're already lying down, feel free to stay as you are. And we'll just take a few moments to breathe deeply into the body. And just notice what the state of the body is. Noticing where there's tightness, where there's release, where there's sensation, where there's neutrality. And as we move into this practice, please let your body be your first teacher, your primary teacher. I'm here to offer some guidance, to share a little bit about what I know, but ultimately this is a practice of intimacy with our own being, our own breath, our own body. Learning to listen to subtler and subtler calls back home into the heart. If you're joining me live, it's wonderful to have you here. Feel welcome to keep your camera off or turn it on as you like, whatever feels good. Good. So if you're seated, we'll transition to a Shavasana, so lying on your back. And we'll do no support under the back if it feels good. If you need some support, that's wonderful, please take it. But just a simple Shavasana, maybe with some support underneath the knees. Good. And giving yourself a moment or two to land here. Hands can be resting on the belly or palms open facing the sky, or any variation that feels good for you. Landing in Shavasana. And beginning to become more aware of the body. Deepening the breath just a little bit. And bringing attention to the top of the head. The very top of the head. How does the top of the head feel? The sides of the head and the back of the head. Bringing attention to the forehead. And as we move downward through the body, we're calling the Shen back home. Calling the Shen to return. Coming back into the heart, bringing attention to the eyebrows and the space between the eyebrows. To the temples, to the eyes and eyelids, cheeks and ears, nose, upper lip, lower lip, chin, jaw. Just paying attention to these places as I name them. Back of the neck, throat, base of the throat, collarbone, shoulders and shoulder blades, armpits, upper arms, elbows, lower arms, wrists, insides of both hands, the backs of both hands, all 10 fingers. Becoming aware of the chest as it gently rises and falls. Of the upper back, middle back, lower back. Becoming aware of the belly as it gently rises and falls with the breath. Becoming aware of the hips, the glutes, the backs of the thighs, the tops of the thighs, the knees, and inside the knee joint. Lower legs, ankles, tops of the feet, bottoms of the feet, and all 10 toes. The whole body. The whole body. The whole body. Breathing deeply. Aware of the whole body. And let your grip on your attention loosen as much as possible. And notice if there's a place in the body that the attention is naturally drawn to. For me, in this moment, I'm feeling it at the bottom of my lower back. My attention is immediately pulled into that space. And if it's an unpleasant sensation, you can loosen the grip on the attention again, let it roam, and find another space. We exist in these bodies. We exist as these bodies. These bodies exist within us. The map of today's class is to find a path Maybe it's a well-trodden, wide, maintained path. Maybe we're hacking our way through the forest and the jungle, gently hacking our way. But finding this path from the mind, from our analytical, rational, thinking mind, full of complexities and intricacies and humanness, from a path from the mind down into the heart. A heart full of simplicity. Full of knowing. And full of humanness. Maybe in a different way. As we move through different postures in this practice, please listen to your own body and know that the rhythm that I teach in, the pace, isn't the perfect rhythm. So if you need to spend more time in a posture, please do. If you need to come out of a posture, please do. If you need to take an entirely different posture than the one I'm suggesting, please do. From Shavasana, take your time, moving gently, moving slowly. I'll give the instruction now, but move whenever it feels good. Bending both knees and placing the feet on the earth. Lifting the hips up and sliding a folded blanket or pillow or bolster or maybe even a block with a blanket over it if it feels good. And then allowing the right leg to straighten and the left knee bends. Hands laced loosely together over the shin or the thigh. If it doesn't feel good to have the knee bent, you can straighten both legs. This is called pontoon pose. Play around with the position of the bolster. Maybe it feels better to have no support under the lower back and just having the spine on the floor and one knee bent in. Give yourself a few moments to explore here. And then landing. And landing in a posture doesn't have to be a final, okay, I'm here in this posture and I will hold it and I will stay here until we move. No, we can land, settle, and then as things shift and open, there might be I need a different prop, or I need to come out of this posture. So honoring that. Honoring that. Breathing deeply. In today's practice, we'll work with the sinew and meridian channels for the heart, of course, and also for the spleen. The spleen is the communicator the connector between heaven and earth. What takes our etheric feelings of love, our insights from our practice, from our meditation, and what brings them down into the body, onto earth, into our behavior, into our action, into our every thought. We are already living in the heart. We don't have to do anything to become closer than the divine, become closer to the divine. But it sure does feel like it sometimes, doesn't it? It sure does feel like the path is long. Sometimes. Sometimes it feels like the divine could never be farther away. Like our heart couldn't be farther away. But the task is not to do anything, to fix it, to bring it closer. The task is to remember. To remember that we're already here. Hugging both knees into the chest now. You had the right leg extended, the left knee bent. Hugging the right knee into the chest. Taking a moment to switch legs, extending the left and hugging in the right. Same posture on the other side. Giving yourself time to move slowly. Breathing deeply here. So the question isn't, do you know love? Do you know unconditional love, causeless love? But the question is, do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember? Breathing deeply. Breathing deeply. Taking your time, moving slowly, hugging both knees in towards the chest if it feels good. Hugging both knees in towards the chest. And then planting both feet on the ground, removing the bolster. Take your time. And if it feels good, you can gently drop the knees from side to side. Sort of windshield wipering the knees if it feels good. And from here we'll move into banana. So keeping the feet on the earth underneath you, lifting the hips up and bringing both hips over to the right side. Extending the legs long and scooting them over to the left. And lifting one or both arms over your head if it feels good. Sometimes a blanket underneath the shoulder can be really supportive. But we're making this banana, this half moon shape with the body. Sometimes it can be nice as well to place a little bit of support under the knees if you have an extra blanket. This is a posture for the heart and the spleen. The heart, which is pure, causeless, unconditional, loving awareness, pure love. And the spleen, which brings this down onto earth, into our thoughts. Breathing deeply here. This is a poem by William Stafford. There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread. But it's hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you can do stops time's unfolding. But you don't ever let go of the thread. There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. What is it in your life that does not change? We all have these unique lives, these unique minds. unique bodies, unique incarnations. We're all completely different from one another. We have similarities, but we have our own unique incarnation. And yet we all carry this thread. We all hold this thread that in its essence is the same. There is only one thread. Taking your time, moving slowly, gently, gently, bringing the legs back to center, bringing the arms. Take your time. And gently making your way to find this banana shape on the other side. Do what you would like to get yourself comfortable. In our yin practice, it's a good balance to encounter a little bit of discomfort occasionally. If it feels good, if it feels like you can hold it within the container of your awareness, and as long as it's not harming your body, a little drop of discomfort can be beneficial. A little stretch can be beneficial. But we never want to be in pain in this practice. Too much discomfort that's distracting, or that you have to make a face or hold your breath to hold. This is too much. No problem. Back out of the posture a bit, a little more props, maybe taking a slightly different posture. No problem. Breathing deeply here. This is a poem by Rumi. The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They're in each other all along. The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They're in each other all along. Returning to the heart is the most natural thing we can do. The most natural. Nothing could be more human than forgetting who we are, what we are, forgetting the heart. And then remembering again. Take your time. Moving slowly. Uncurling out of banana, returning to center. Take your time. And gently, gently take your time. Rolling onto your belly. No rush getting here. And if you don't already have a blanket underneath you, it's so lovely to have a little bit of extra cushion under the body. So you might like to set that up for yourself now. So I'll give the instruction now, but please take your time getting here. Lying on the belly, extending the right arm long on the earth. This posture is called broken wing, so we can adjust the intensity as we get into the posture by raising or lowering the right arm. So my right arm's long on the earth, and I'm going to open my body to the left and turn open over the right shoulder. I'll show you on both sides. So one arm is long, turning open, and then the opposite foot can land on the earth if that feels good, or can just rest on top of the knee. Another variation would be to put a bolster under the knee. So you can play with the intensity of the posture that feels good for you, lifting the knee up, or resting it on the ground, moving the arm up and down, and focusing on that sensation where we know the heart sinew channel is, down the pinky and the outside of the arm, through the armpit and into the heart. Landing here, giving yourself the grace of trying one or two, maybe 3 variations before you land on one that feels good. Breathing into the heart. Just noticing if the mind is ruminating on the past or gushing forward into the future. Or if the mind is spinning some story about how you can't feel the heart, you don't know the heart. Okay, this is what the mind does. The mind thinks. But there's a knowing deeper than this. There is a knowing deeper than this. There is a knowing deeper than this that we have all tapped into in these moments where we see an incredible sunrise. Or we're with a beloved grandparent and our heart just swells with the weight of our love for them. Or when you hold a newborn baby. Or when for no reason at all, we're doing something simple like walking down the street or just opening the fridge and suddenly there's just love. There's this simple, quiet, loving joy for no reason. Have you experienced this? Do you remember? Do you remember when you felt love for no reason? Breathing deeply here. And when we're living in the heart, it doesn't mean we greet everyone we meet with prolonged eye contact or with a long 2-minute hug or by bowing. We don't have to have these grand external gestures of love to be living in the heart. But we know we're living in the heart when we meet another human, another earthling. And we recognize, of course, you're living in the same tremendously wonderful struggle that I am. Isn't this human life so terrible and strange and heartbreakingly beautiful and wonderful all at the same time? All at the same time. And when you feel ready, take your time, moving gently, slowly, tenderly, uncurling out of the broken wing, coming back to center. Maybe it feels good to shift the hips from either side for a moment. And when you feel ready, take your time, extending the other arm long on the earth and opening up into broken wing on the other side. Take your time. And our left and right side likely feel very different. So if you need a slightly different gauge of intensity or slightly different props here, please take that. Listen to what you need. It's okay if the left and right side are different. They're allowed to be different. We don't have to balance everything in our system right now. Maybe in time. This is a poem by Hafiz. There are different wells within your heart. Some fill with each good rain. Others are far too deep for that. In one well, you have just a precious few cups of water. That love is literally something of yourself. It can grow as slow as a diamond if it is lost. There are different wells within you. Some fill with each good rain. Others are far too deep for that. Remembering the sinew channel down the pinky finger, the outside of the arm, through the armpit, and into the heart. There's nothing to do, nothing to find out or figure out. It's already here. What you're looking for, what I'm looking for, what all of us are out there in the world scrambling about looking for is already here. It is self-generating. We don't need another person to give it to us, although it feels so wonderful to share in it with someone else, doesn't it? To share in love with someone who loves us back just as much as we love them. In an unconditional way. But it doesn't come from outside. It doesn't come from the other person. It doesn't come from the circumstance. It comes from right here. This is the source. Take your time shifting out of broken wing, coming back onto the belly. Take your time. It might feel good to shift the hips from either side. Take your time, moving gently with patience. And I'll give the instruction for the next posture, but please take your time getting there. We'll move into Sphinx pose, lifting up the chest off the earth. Elbows are stacked underneath the shoulders. Palms of the hands are connected with the ground. And we can let everything else sort of get loose here, get soft. So if you feel a nice mild compression in the lower back, a gentle stretch in the front of the belly, this is perfect. We don't want to feel anything too distracting. And if you prefer, this pose can be practiced as well, just resting on a bolster. Or with a block under the forehead. Good, landing here. Breathing deeply into the belly. Feeling the belly gently expand into the soft earth beneath you. And as you exhale, letting go, getting a little bit heavier. The earth will completely hold you. This is a poem by Mark Nepo. Yes, it is true. I confess, I have thought great thoughts and sung great songs. All of it rehearsal for the majesty of being held. The dream is awakened when thinking, I love you, and life begins when saying, I love you. And joy moves like blood when embracing others with love. My efforts now turn from trying to outrun suffering to accepting love wherever I can find it. Stripped of causes and plans and things to strive for, I have discovered everything I could need or ask is right here, in flawed abundance. We cannot eliminate hunger, but we can feed each other. We cannot eliminate loneliness, but we can hold each other. We cannot eliminate pain, but we can live a life of compassion. Ultimately, we are all small living things, awakened in the stream, not gods who carve out rivers. Like human fish, we are asked to experience meaning in the life that moves through the gill of our heart. There is nothing to do and nowhere to go. Accepting this, we can do everything and go anywhere. There is nothing to do and nowhere to go. And accepting this, we can do everything and go anywhere. Staying here in this posture a bit longer if it's feeling good. Or finding a deep inhale and uncurling the spine, returning to the earth. Take your time. And I'll give the instruction for the final posture, but please take your time getting there. There's no rush at all. So placing a blanket, a rolled up blanket or a bolster or a pillow, the long side of the bolster parallel with the long side of the mat. And this edge of the bolster will lay over it, and the edge of the bolster will land just behind the heart. So if you've ever worn a bra, it's where the bra strap lands, or this kind of space just behind the physical heart. And there's an option as well to put a bolster under the knees or just extend the legs long. Or ending in this sort of supported fish pose. And if it feels good, you can keep the knees bent with the feet on the floor as well. Breathing into the heart. Breathing into the heart. And if you like, you can add another layer to this posture, to this practice, the meditation of blowing on the embers of the heart, the quiet fire of the heart. So as you inhale, visualizing glowing orange embers, like from the base of the fire in the heart space. And as you inhale, the breath of your inhale feeds the fire, it glows brighter. And as you exhale, the air of your exhale feeds the fire, it glows brighter. Inhaling, exhaling, feeding the quiet fire of your heart. The quiet fire of your heart. Inhaling and exhaling. The quiet fire of your heart glows brighter and brighter, never bursting into big flames, but the warmth of it radiates through the entire body. The warmth of it radiating from the heart into the entire body. A poem by Derek Walcott. The time will come when with elation you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, "Sit here, eat." You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back to your heart, to itself, to the stranger who has loved you. All your life, whom you have ignored, for another who knows you by the heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit. Feast on your life. Give back your heart to itself. Give back your heart to itself. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May any and all good energy generated by this practice be dedicated to the liberation, fulfillment, and happiness of all beings everywhere. May all beings experience the dignity, joy, and peace, of knowing and living from their own heart. May love awaken all of us to ourselves. May love awaken all of us. From the bottom of my heart, I thank each of you for joining me in this practice. Sincerely, thank you. We'll close our practice here. Please take your time and give yourself permission to stay here as long as you need, as long as it feels good. I'll turn my camera off, but I'll stick around for a little bit longer if anyone wants to connect. If you have any sharings, comments, or feedback for me, please reach out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Be well, beloveds.